Die.
Whoa, man. Fellas.
All right, haves and have-not fans. Now, it was bad enough. It was bad enough to see Hanna have a freaking breakdown at the end of the haves and the have-nots after running down Jim in a fit of revenge for killing Candace. Now, I've already talked about, whether or not Hanna Young is a murderer. Technically, I think she is, but I've seen some strong debates in the comment section of my videos like, well, Jeremy, I don't know. I mean, it was self-defense, but I'm like, she went at Jim first, but it's like he was on her property. Okay, that's actually a fair argument, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like overall, you could argue self-defense, but I think that argument went out the window, no pun intended, when Hanna got in her car. Jim busted her driver's window, the driver door window, and was hanging on. But when he actually was kind of fought off and fell on the ground, the moment Hanna turned the car around to run him down, I feel like that's when it was like manslaughter. But you could, some people like, insanity manslaughter, heat of the moment. I mean, I might have to ask some lawyer friends about this, but I feel like overall, I feel like the moment that she decided to turn around and hit Jim was when it was definitely murder. So, with that being said, we saw her literally having a Joker meltdown at the end of the episode, and that was it. It's like, you're not gonna hurt my kids anymore. You're not. And I'm like, first of all, your daughter's dead. Secondly, you don't even know what happened to Benny, who was gunned down. So my topic of discussion here is, what happens when Hanna finds out about Benny? So guys, take a moment and hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post content on the channel, and follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. I don't want to say this is fan fiction, but it's kind of me theorizing. Well, then again, you could argue, Jeremy, isn't your channel technically fan fiction because you're taking elements of the story, telling us what you think is going to happen prior to it happening? And plus, since the show is over, in a way, this is fan fiction. I don't know. Either way, I think of it as professional videography, if that's even a word. So, yeah, like I said, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Trust me, it's been helping the channel more than you know. So, what do we know? Obviously, 911 needs to be called immediately in order to discover the bodies. Candace and Jim. Now, the argument, you could make it that Jim could be alive. There's a valid argument for that, because the way we heard him growl after he got hit. But with Candace, it's just a matter of if Tyler wanted to or not. So for the sake of simplicity, let's just say Jim and Candace are dead. Hanna is the last woman standing. A couple of bombs have to be dropped here. I feel like she would find out about Benny's death before Katheryn's death, possibly, because we know Marty was on his way down to the jail. Marty was on his way before she got killed, because Katheryn talked to Marty first and then she talked to Hanna. Marty was on his way. Hanna was going to run by the house to get the paperwork for the meeting tomorrow and then go down to see Katheryn. So Marty, I feel, would go down to the jail first. And Hanna, obviously, she would have to, pull herself together and then wait for the authorities to come and, to handle business there. I feel like in the midst of talking with the police and telling them everything that happened about my daughter's body upstairs, and then Jim Cryer, obviously he will be discovered first because he's laying right out in front of the house. During this time, I feel like Marty would call Hanna, and it's like, this isn't a good time, Marty, what is it? And then it's like, Katheryn's dead. And then Hanna would be floored that her friend is dead. So that's yet another person she didn't know about. Now, given the fact that Benny moved into a relatively nice neighborhood, I'm not talking as nice as, let's say, where David's living or where Katheryn's living, or was living, that is. But I feel like it was in a nice, secluded enough neighborhood that somebody possibly called 911 because they heard gunfire in the neighborhood. So then the police would have found Benny's corpse outside of his truck. And remember, after the Malone shot him down, you know, one of the guys kind of looked around before they walked off to make sure there weren't any witnesses. So I feel like the order in which it would have happened is Hanna would have got the call from Marty first. And then in terms of the police probably getting a report on, like, you know, their radio, and it's like, Miss Hanna Young, your son is Benjamin Young, right? Well, he was discovered gunned down outside of his new house in such and such a location. Hanna, you could argue, some people have been saying poor Hanna will probably have a heart attack and die right there on the spot. I would not be surprised, because over the course of the series, this woman's poor heart has been through so much. And then I know, like, on the Oval, they say Nancy has heart issues and everything, but poor Hanna, my gosh. So you find out, you find your dead daughter. Well, I mean, earlier that day, you survive a drive-by shooting. Then you find your daughter dead. You have a fight to the death with Jim Cryer. Then you find out Katheryn Cryer's dead from Marty. Then you find out your son's dead, probably from one of the other police officers. It's just one thing after another. So I feel like Hanna would probably keel over right there, or she would have a breakdown, or, you know, it would be tough. Now, personally speaking, we know that she went after the man who killed killed Candace, which was Jim. Would she put two and two together and know it was the Malones? If I remember correctly, Benny was like, oh yeah, it's some girl I'm dating, her ex, but I don't think it was explicitly stated that it was the Malones, but they made it clear, like, the drive-by wasn't Jim, it was another situation. And I think one of the, well, I use the term loosely, funny parts of the first part of the finale was how Benny was like, it's on me. It's like so casual, like, hey mom, I'm the one who forgot to take the chicken out of the freezer when you asked me to this morning, because it's like, the way that the drive-by was so casually treated, it just made me laugh, because it's like, yeah, I know Candace has put us all through a lot of stuff, like the gun down, the shootout that happened with Warlock and his crew. That was all Candace, but in this situation, mom, this was my fault. I'll take the blame. So it's just one of those things where she'll probably find out it's the Malones, but something tells me she would not go down there hot-headed, because she's aware of things and how it's, you know, it wouldn't be a wise decision. But then again, this is Hanna, so I feel like with her being the executor and whatnot, I feel like I would like to think that once she comes to her full role as executor, because she, you know, with all the grief going on, she'll come into the realization that I'm in charge of the Cryer estate. I'm the person with the power. I'm not saying she'll go power hungry, but in order to kind of move forward in life, she will take on the role as the executor using Katheryn's connections and whatnot, which will now be her own. I feel like I'd like to think that Hanna would be able to get justice, maybe not against the entire Malone family, but at least against Sandy. Like, Rihanna might reach out to Hanna and let her know what happened out of guilt. And I feel like with that, maybe Rihanna will testify and put Sandy and some of the Malones behind bars. I know it's a bit too fan servicey and a bit too well, this is a fictional series, but I'd like to think Hanna would do it the right way. Because part of me, you know, I feel like I don't give Hanna as much grief towards killing Jim as I did with Hanna killing Jennifer Salison, because I feel like they're different circumstances, you know? Obviously, in the court of law, that would determine a lot, but I think overall, I just feel like I would like Hanna to get peace. It's just like, when families, they lose people in situations like, like the unfortunate building collapse in Florida a couple weeks ago, or like, in natural disasters, or, mass shootings and whatnot. Finding peace by at least putting the bodies of their loved ones to rest is at least some way to close the book on the situation. Obviously not their feelings and grief, but to know that their loved ones, their body was recovered, they were, taken care of from there, is better than like a person being unidentified or lost, So I would like to think Rihanna got some sort of redemption. Like, I don't blame Benny's death on Rihanna. I don't, because Sandy threaten her, because like, what will happen if you don't help me, right? So I really don't know what extent that would be. I would think that it has something to do with her mother, but at the end of the day, I feel like a way for her to kind of get redemption is to contact Hanna to let her know what happened, and then from there, they work together to bring justice, and I'm not talking about where the Malones can get their family out of jail. I mean like justice like manslaughter, even though technically Sandy wasn't the one that killed Benny, but you know what I mean. Let the story play out how it plays out. But in regards to Katheryn, not much to say there. Like I said before, Hanna comes into her own. She's no longer this little maid. She knows what she's doing. She's embraced the role of being the head of the Crier estate, and without the funny business behind the scenes, she's doing her thing, raising her new grandchild and Tanisha. They get along just fine, and Hanna enjoys her life. That's what I think would happen between finding out about all the other deaths of Benny and Katheryn. Like, I don't know about her finding out if Candace is pregnant or not. That's a whole nother thing. I did a video about Charles, and I don't know if Charles would reach out to Hanna. But in any case, I think the best case scenario is after one horrific night of finding out about all of her children and her friend dying, she's able to kind of move on, as best she can. So that's my thoughts. I was actually going to do a separate video about Hanna finding out about Benny, Hanna finding out about Katheryn, but to be honest, I feel like they actually fit so well together in this crafted story that I just told you that it makes the most sense to me. If you have another alternative, feel free to let me know. For real, let me know. I really do love the conversation. Like I said, I've been taking time to read comments. I'm sorry I can't respond to everybody, but these videos have been getting hundreds of comments, and you can understand I'm just a one-man person. So I mean, yeah, I'm just one man. So, well, yeah, I'm one person. I'm just one person behind all this, so I'm not able to respond. But I love what I've been seeing. I've loved the interactions, and keep it up. Trust and believe you're helping bring in a lot of money to the channel, which in turn can help me get a house. So please continue to support. And with that being said, what do you think? Do you think Hanna would just, fall over and die, or be put in an asylum because it's too much at one time? But I'd like to think that even though she goes through this, I feel like, if nothing else, I'd like to believe her relationship with God gets even stronger, and she's able to pick herself up. So let me know your thoughts. Donate via PayPal or Cash App to the channel if you would like. And with that being said, folks, I'll talk to you all in the next video.